No one took the crying bride at the station until a cowboy's son pointed, "That's my mama." Riley Kane rode into the small frontier town of Dustspire with the sun sinking behind jagged rock cliffs. His horse, a lean mechanical steed named Rust, clicked in word as its servos adjusted to the uneven ground. Dustspire was almost empty, its streets cracked and deserted, with only the faint hum of distant machinery hinting that life existed here. Riley had been wandering from system to system for weeks, following rumors of lost settlements, abandoned credits, and easy jobs. This one seemed quiet enough. Too quiet. But curiosity had always been his strongest vice. As he wandered down the main street, his eyes caught a sign swaying gently in the wind. Painted in bold, almost crude letters, it read, $1, take it or leave it. Beneath the sign stood a small, run-down house with peeling paint, warped wood, and a door hanging crookedly on its hinges. Riley chuckled to himself. Most places in the frontier would cost at least 1,000 credits, and here was a house being practically given away. $1, huh? He muttered, rubbing his chin. Can't get a drink for that these days. He dismounted Rust and walked to the door. The wood groaned under his weight, and the faint smell of ozone and old metal drifted from inside. The house looked empty from the outside, but Riley had learned long ago that appearances were deceptive. Pushing the door open, he expected dust, cobwebs, and maybe a stray rodent or two. Instead, a warm light glowed from the kitchen, soft and steady, almost alive. And there they were. 3 women, each taller than any human Riley had ever seen, stood around a simple metal table. They were sipping from cups, their eyes calm and focused. Each towered at nearly 9 feet tall, their movements precise and controlled, like dancers rehearsing an eternal routine. Their skin shimmered faintly under the kitchen light, catching colors that didn't exist in the dusty frontier town outside. Their fingers were long and delicate, yet strong enough to bend metal if needed. Riley froze, hand hovering over the grip of his blaster. Hello?" he said, trying to sound casual, though his voice cracked slightly. One of the women turned her head slowly. Her eyes reflected tiny stars, like a fragment of the galaxy itself was trapped within them. "Welcome," she said, her voice calm, melodic, and oddly familiar. "We've been expecting someone." "Expecting me?" "Yes," said another woman, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "The house chooses who may stay." Every instinct screamed that he was stepping into something far bigger than a simple abandoned house. He reached out to shake hands, but the hands were too large, too alien. Instead, he offered a nod. "Name's Riley Kane. I bought the place." The tallest of the 3, whose hair shimmered silver like moonlight on steel, inclined her head. "We know you paid 1 credit, as the sign stated, but it is not just a house you have purchased. It is a guardian." Riley's mind raced. "Guardian?" He swallowed hard. "Of what?" Astra, as the first woman called herself, gestured to a hatch in the floor. It was small, round, and almost invisible. "Of the core," she said simply. "It lies beneath this house. It has been sleeping for centuries, waiting for someone worthy." "The core?" Sounds like something from a children's hall of video. "What, does it make your coffee for you?" Lyra, the woman with hair like liquid silver, smiled faintly. "It controls much more than that. It holds knowledge, energy, and protection. Its purpose is to safeguard frontier colonies from those who would misuse power." Riley scratched his head, glancing at Rust outside, whose servos whined softly as if impatient. "All right, so I bought a house that's basically a supercomputer with giant alien ladies in the kitchen. Got it. Seems normal." He tried to keep his voice light, but his heart thumped against his chest. The women did not laugh. Instead, Vega, the one with amber-tinted skin and muscles that could bend steel, reached down to open the hatch. A soft blue light poured from the opening, casting the kitchen in a pale glow. "We guard it, we awaken it, and now you have entered its space." Riley leaned back against the counter. "Enter its space? Are you telling me I've just walked into some kind of cosmic trap?" "No trap," Astra replied. "Only a test. You chose to enter freely. That choice marks the beginning of your role here." The words felt heavier than any frontier job Riley had ever taken. His bounty hunting days had taught him to expect danger, but this was on another scale entirely. Yet, despite the fear, he felt a spark of excitement. Adventure, real adventure, had finally found him. A soft hum filled the room. Riley turned toward the basement hatch, curiosity winning over caution. "So, what does this core actually do?" Lyra's eyes glimmered. It watches over settlements across multiple systems, it monitors rogue activity, protects colonies, and holds the accumulated knowledge of the frontier. But it needs guardians. Without them, it remains dormant and vulnerable. "And you three are the guardians?" Riley asked, unable to hide a hint of awe. "We were made for it," Vega said simply. "And now we need you to help." Riley shook his head. "Help? I barely know what's going on, and suddenly I'm enlisted in whatever this is." Astra stepped closer, her towering frame almost filling the kitchen doorway. "You have proven your courage simply by stepping through that door. That is why you are here. You have a chance to be part of something greater than yourself." Riley swallowed again, trying to digest the enormity of it all. The quiet frontier town, the $1 house, the shimmering women, it all seemed unreal. But there was a sense of truth in their words, an energy that made the air buzz with possibility. Before he could respond, a faint vibration shook the floor. Rust whinnied outside. The hum from the core intensified, echoing through the house. Riley glanced down at the hatch, suddenly nervous. What's happening?" Lyra's hands moved gracefully through the air, and panels along the kitchen walls slid open, revealing blinking consoles and glowing circuits. "The core senses your presence," she said. "It is waking." Riley stepped back, heart pounding. The basement hatch glowed brighter, pulsating like a heartbeat. "It's alive?" he whispered. Astra nodded. "In a way, yes. It is a sleeping mind, aware of time and space. It tests those who enter to see if they are worthy of its knowledge and protection." "I was just looking for a cheap place to stay." Vega smirked faintly, though the expression on her face was more amused than mocking. "Cheap does not always mean simple, Riley Kane. Some things in the frontier are cheap in credits, but priceless in consequence." Riley glanced around the kitchen again. The three women moved with a calm precision, their movements synchronized like a single organism. Yet despite their alien presence, there was something familiar about their poise, like old Western gunslingers waiting for the right moment. Riley felt an odd sense of comfort in that, strange as it seemed. "I guess I'll stay," he said finally, "for now. Let's see what this core wants from me." "Good. Rest tonight." "Tomorrow we begin your training." Riley laughed nervously. Training? Already? I just bought the house." "You bought more than the house," Lyra said, her voice soft but firm. "You bought a purpose." The evening settled over Dustspire, with the sun disappearing behind the distant cliffs. Riley sat at the metal table, staring at the three towering women sipping their alien tea. Outside, Rust lowered its head, servo motors quietly humming as if in agreement. Riley took a deep breath. Somehow, this place, this house, and these women were about to change his life. He had no idea how much. And as the core pulsed faintly beneath the floor, Riley Kane, wandering bounty hunter, realized that a $1 house had become the center of something far larger than himself, something that could reshape not just the town, but the entire frontier. He leaned back in his chair, trying to calm his racing mind. "Well," he muttered to no one in particular, "let's see what kind of trouble I've gotten myself into." The women exchanged glances, eyes gleaming with faint starlight, and for the first time Riley felt a strange sense of hope. Adventure was calling, and this time he wasn't running from it. He was right in the middle of it. The morning sun rose slowly over Dustspire, sending streaks of gold across the jagged cliffs. Riley Kane woke to the soft hum of the house, a vibration that seemed to come from the floor itself. Rust, his mechanical horse, was resting outside, its optics glowing faintly as it adjusted to the new day. Riley rubbed his eyes and tried to shake off the lingering disbelief from the night before. 3 towering alien women, a glowing core beneath the floor, and a $1 house. He still couldn't wrap his head around it. He stumbled into the kitchen, half expecting the women to be gone. Instead, they were already awake, moving with calm, deliberate precision. Astra arranged items on the table. Lyra adjusted a panel on the wall that Riley hadn't noticed before, and Vega flexed her enormous hands, testing her strength against a metal rod that bent under her grip. "Morning," Riley said, trying to sound casual. His voice cracked slightly. "So, what's the plan today?" Astra looked at him, eyes gleaming with tiny stars. "Today you will learn about the core and its purpose. You must understand it before you can help protect it." Riley raised an eyebrow. "Purpose? I thought it was just some old tech." "It is much more than that. The core holds knowledge, energy, and systems designed to safeguard the frontier. It monitors colonies, controls defense mechanisms, and stores secrets that could rebuild worlds.
But it is vulnerable.
That is why we exist, to guard it. Riley's stomach tightened. So, this isn't just a house. It's like a frontier fortress disguised as a cheap home? Vega smiled faintly, the corners of her mouth barely moving. Exactly, and now you are part of it. Riley groaned. Part of it? I barely know how to turn on the coffee machine here. Astra's expression softened. Courage is more important than knowledge. You have chosen to enter freely, and that makes you part of this. Knowledge will come with time. With a slow motion that felt almost ceremonial, Lyra gestured toward the basement hatch. The soft blue glow pulsed again. You will see the core, but be warned it will test you. He took a deep breath and followed the 3 towering women down the narrow stairs. The basement opened into a wide chamber, larger than the house above suggested. Panels of unknown metal lined the walls, humming softly. In the center, the core floated slightly above the ground, a crystalline structure radiating light and energy. Tiny sparks danced across its surface like a miniature galaxy in motion. Riley stopped, staring. Okay, this is really something. Vega stepped forward. The core is alive in its own way. It senses threats, assesses intentions, and interacts with those it considers worthy. So, if it doesn't like me, it can, what? Fry my brain? It does not harm without reason. But it does test. Its tests are challenging. You may find yourself in situations you never expected. Riley laughed nervously. Great. Just what I needed. Unexpected situations. Lyra placed a hand on the core. Light rippled across the floor, tracing patterns around the chamber. The core tests those who enter its space by simulating challenges. It can create illusions, show possibilities, and even manipulate physical objects. You must learn to focus, control fear, and act wisely. His fingers itched to touch the core, but he hesitated. And if I fail? Vega's amber eyes glimmered. Failure is a lesson, not the end. But repeated failure can bring danger. That is why we are here, to guide and protect you. Riley nodded, trying to steady his nerves. All right, let's see what this core wants from me. The core pulsed brighter, and suddenly the room shifted. Walls that had seemed solid melted into images of a desert plain, not unlike Dustspire itself, but alien in its scale. Towering cliffs rose far higher than reality allowed, and strange metallic structures jutted from the ground. Riley blinked. The air smelled of ozone and dust, and he realized he was no longer in the basement. Or maybe the basement had transformed. Astra's voice echoed softly. Do not be afraid. This is the test. Focus. Observe. Suddenly, a group of figures appeared on the simulated plain, heavily armed raiders in armor that gleamed like polished obsidian. Their weapons were advanced, pulsating with energy, and they moved with deadly precision. Riley's heart raced. He was unarmed, surrounded by 3 towering alien women, and yet these raiders seemed real. Lyra stepped close. They are part of the test. Treat them as real. Your choices here will affect how the core perceives you. Riley gritted his teeth. He wasn't new to danger, but this was different. In the frontier, a bounty hunter could rely on reflexes and guns. Here, every movement seemed measured, every decision crucial. The raiders charged, and the room responded. Walls rose from the floor as barriers. Panels slid open, revealing energy pistols that Vega handed to Riley. Use them wisely, she said. Riley fired instinctively, bullets of blue plasma streaking toward the raiders. The raiders vanished just before impact, reappearing behind him. He spun, firing again, and realized the core was teaching him something subtle. Anticipation, strategy, and adaptation. Hours, or what felt like hours, passed in a blur of training. The raiders changed tactics, the landscape shifted, and Riley learned to move with the core's illusions rather than against them. Astra guided him with words, Lyra with adjustments to the room's controls, and Vega with brute force demonstrations. By the end, Riley was exhausted, but exhilarated. He collapsed on the simulated ground, sweat running down his face. All right, he panted. I think I get it, kind of. Astra nodded. Good. You have the courage and adaptability the core values. You are learning. Lyra smiled faintly. Tomorrow we will test you again, with greater challenges. But today you survived. That is enough for now. Riley laughed softly, shaking his head. Survived, yeah, barely. I feel like I just rode 1,000 miles on rust without stopping. Vega crouched beside him. The core will continue to test, and you will grow stronger. But know this, the frontier outside this house is not as quiet as it seems. Danger is closer than you think, Riley frowned. Closer? What do you mean? Before anyone could answer, a low vibration shook the house. Rust outside whinnied sharply, and the ground trembled under Riley's boots. Panels along the walls flickered, casting shadows that danced like living creatures. Astra's eyes narrowed. You were right, Riley Kane. Danger is near. The core has sensed intruders approaching the town. Riley's heart thumped. Intruders? Here? In Dustspire? Lyra's fingers moved over a control panel, pulling up a holographic map of the town. Small ships, sleek and black, hovered at the edge of the settlement. Raiders. They are after the house and the core. Riley swallowed hard. Raiders? Like space bandits? Vega's expression was serious. Yes. They know about the core. They've been hunting it for decades. And now they are here. Riley's mind raced. He had imagined quiet days in a small town, maybe fixing rust or enjoying a drink at a bar. Instead, he was about to face an armed gang of interstellar raiders targeting a mysterious core guarded by 3 towering alien women. Astra's voice cut through his thoughts. Prepare yourself, Riley. We will not fight recklessly, but we will defend the house. You must trust us, and trust the core.
Riley nodded, reaching for his plasma pistols.
I trust you. I trust, well, the best I can. The blue glow from the basement pulsed brighter, as if responding to his determination. The house itself seemed to hum with life, readying for the coming storm. Riley took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Dustspire might have seemed quiet, empty, and forgotten. But now, Riley Kane understood that it was the eye of a storm, the center of a struggle he could not have imagined. And for the first time in his wandering life, he felt like he belonged not just anywhere, but exactly where he was meant to be. As the ships descended slowly over the cliffs outside, Riley glanced at the 3 towering women. Astra's calm eyes, Lyra's confident movements, Vega's steady strength. All of them told him the same thing. He was not alone. Together, they would face whatever came next. And Riley Kane, wandering bounty hunter, felt a thrill he had never known. Adventure had found him, and it was louder, bigger, and stranger than he had ever dreamed. The core pulsed beneath the floor, and Riley knew, without a doubt, that this was only the beginning. The desert winds howled across Dustspire as Riley Kane peered through the cracked window of his $1 house. The sky was streaked with red and gold, but the beauty of the frontier offered no comfort. Black, sleek raider ships hovered over the cliffs, their engines humming like mechanical predators. Riley's hand gripped the edge of the counter as he watched the intruders. The $1 house, his accidental home, had become the center of a fight he had not chosen, but one he couldn't ignore. Riley, Astra said, her voice calm but firm, we need to act. The raiders are equipped with weapons designed to bypass ordinary defenses, but this house, she gestured to the walls, which now hummed faintly with energy. It has capabilities they cannot predict. Lyra moved to a panel on the wall, tapping it lightly. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing the terrain outside, the raiders' positions, and energy readings from the core.
We can defend ourselves, she said, but we must use strategy.
Straight combat will be too dangerous. Riley frowned. Strategy, huh? Sounds like my kind of day. He checked his plasma pistols, feeling their familiar weight in his hands. Rust servos clicked as the mechanical horse adjusted, ready for any order. Vega stepped forward, her towering frame casting a shadow across the room. Follow us. The core will guide your actions. Trust your instincts, and do not hesitate. Riley nodded, swallowing hard. His heartbeat quickened as they moved into the basement. The core pulsed brighter, its light reflecting off the walls like a miniature galaxy. Energy surged through the floor, and the house seemed to hum with anticipation. For the first time, Riley felt that he was not just a visitor in this place, he was part of it. Suddenly, the basement walls shifted, revealing hidden panels and compartments. Blasters, energy shields, and small drones lined the shelves. Lyra handed Riley a compact energy rifle, its sleek design unlike anything he had used before. This will help, she said. Aim carefully, conserve energy. Riley nodded, taking a deep breath. Got it. Conserve energy, aim carefully. Easy enough for a calm day in the desert. The ground trembled as the first raider ship landed near the edge of the cliffs. Doors hissed open and armored raiders spilled onto the sand, weapons glowing with lethal energy. Riley's pulse quickened, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had survived countless ambushes, but never like this, with 3 towering women and an alien core guiding him. Astra raised her hands, and a faint barrier of shimmering energy spread across the kitchen, stretching to cover the entire house. The raiders fired, plasma bolts striking the shield and scattering harmlessly. Riley's eyes widened. That's impressive. You haven't seen anything yet. She stepped outside, her long stride carrying her effortlessly over the ground. She bent a metal support beam with her bare hands and flung it toward the raiders, sending them scattering. Riley ducked behind a counter, firing at approaching raiders as holographic decoys projected by the core appeared, confusing their aim. Okay, this is actually working, he muttered, adrenaline pumping. Lyra tapped another panel, activating a series of traps built into the house. Panels on the floor shifted, creating sudden walls and obstacles that trapped the raiders in small sections. Riley realized that the core was learning from each move, adapting the environment to maximize their advantage. The raiders regrouped, bringing a larger hovering gunship into the fray. Its engines sent sand and debris flying, and Riley could see energy cannons tracking their position. Astra's eyes glimmered as she focused. We cannot hold them here forever. We must escape to the plains. Rust is ready. Riley nodded, understanding. The house had bought them time, but they could not fight indefinitely. He grabbed a few portable energy packs and followed the women outside. The desert stretched endlessly, cliffs on one side and open plains on the other. Dust whipped through the air, and the raider gunship fired in short bursts. Riley mounted Rust, feeling the mechanical horse's power surge beneath him. Vega followed, leaping easily onto another reinforced mechanical steed hidden nearby. Astra and Lyra moved beside them, their bodies radiating a faint energy glow as the core's influence extended to protect them. "Hold on!" Riley shouted as Rust surged forward, hooves barely touching the sand. The wind screamed past his face, carrying the scent of ozone and hot metal from the raider weapons. The raiders pursued, firing energy blasts that left small craters in the ground. Riley dodged, weaving between dunes with surprise and agility. He realized that Rust's advanced sensors were guiding him, compensating for the enemy's aim and keeping him on a safe path. Vega fired a small energy pulse behind them, and one of the raiders' bikes exploded in a flash of blue light. Riley grinned. Not bad for a first chase. Astra's voice came through the small communicator embedded in Riley's helmet. The core has provided a path to the old outpost. Follow it. There, we can turn the tables. Riley nodded, trusting the glowing pulses from Rust's guidance system. The group sped across the plains, the raiders close behind. Dust and sand swirled around them like a storm, and the setting sun painted the landscape in harsh reds and purples. Riley felt alive in a way he hadn't felt in years, the danger sharpening his senses, every sound, movement, and pulse of energy amplified. As they reached the outpost, Riley saw the advantage immediately. The structure was ancient but intact, with high walls, narrow passages, and metal frameworks perfect for setting traps. Lyra tapped a panel on the wall, and energy barriers sprang to life along the entrances, forcing the raiders into confined areas. "Now it's our turn," Vega said, her voice steady. She moved forward, letting out a controlled roar of energy that sent a group of raiders flying backward. Riley followed, using his energy rifle to target the remaining attackers, his shots precise and effective. Astra focused her hands on the core's link, channeling energy through the outpost. Lights pulsed along the walls, creating illusions that made the raiders think the structure was larger, with hidden defenders appearing where there were none. Riley ducked behind a barrier as one raider swung at a holographic projection, smashing nothing but air. The battle intensified, but Riley noticed something. Each move he made was guided subtly by the core. It wasn't just helping the women. It was teaching him, showing him patterns, predicting enemy reactions. Riley felt a thrill of understanding. He wasn't just surviving, he was learning to fight in ways he had never imagined. Hours seemed to pass in a blur of movement, energy blasts, and strategic maneuvers. Finally, the raiders began to falter. Astra, Lyra, and Vega worked in perfect coordination, their alien abilities amplified by the core's energy. Riley leapt onto a raised platform, firing precise shots to disable the remaining attackers' vehicles. One by one, the raiders retreated, some fleeing in their ships, others surrendering when they realized the outpost was no longer vulnerable. Riley lowered his rifle, chest heaving, sweat and dust covering him. He looked at the 3 towering women standing tall and calm amid the chaos. "We did it," Riley said, his voice rough but triumphant. "We actually did it. We defended the core. And you learned something in the process." Riley nodded, glancing at the glowing light in the center of the outpost. "Yeah," he said softly. "I think I'm starting to understand it. And starting to understand me." Lyra moved closer. "This was only the beginning. Others will come. And the core will test you further. But today, you survived. Today, you learned to fight with allies, not just alone." Riley let out a tired laugh. "Allies, huh? I never thought I'd call 3 9-foot alien women my allies. But yeah, that feels right." Astra placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are ready for more, Riley Kane. But for now, rest. The frontier is wide, dangerous, and full of surprises. You will need your strength for what comes next." Riley looked out over the desert plains, watching the raiders retreating into the horizon. Dust and wind swirled around him, and for a moment he felt peace. The frontier had always been unpredictable, unforgiving, and wild. But now he was not alone. He had the core, he had Astra, Lyra, and Vega, and he had the strength he didn't know he possessed. He mounted Rust once more, the mechanical horse humming softly. "All right," he muttered. "Let's see what else this crazy frontier has in store for us." The sun dipped below the horizon, and the desert was bathed in twilight. Riley Kane, once a wandering bounty hunter with nowhere to belong, realized that he had found a purpose, protecting something far greater than himself, alongside 3 towering, extraordinary women who had chosen to trust him. And somewhere beneath their feet the core pulsed steadily, as if approving his courage, guiding him toward the challenges yet to come. The sun rose slowly over the desert plains, casting long shadows across the rugged cliffs and the scattered ruins of Dustspire. Riley Kane mounted Rust, his mechanical horse, feeling the weight of the past battles in his muscles. The $1 house behind him hummed faintly, as if alive, its lights pulsing with the steady rhythm of the core. Today, the frontier demanded more than survival. It demanded strategy, courage, and unity. "Riley," Astra said, towering beside him, her voice calm yet commanding, "the raiders will not give up. They have learned from their defeat yesterday. They know the core is powerful, and they will return in force." Riley gritted his teeth, gripping the reins of Rust. "I figured as much. They aren't known for taking losses gracefully." Lyra adjusted a panel on Rust's saddle, activating a guidance field that would allow the mechanical horse to move faster and react quicker to attacks. "We can use the outpost to our advantage. Its corridors, traps, and the core's energy can help us turn their strength against them." Vega flexed her enormous arms. "And I plan to make sure they regret ever thinking they could take this place." Riley laughed softly, adrenaline already building. "Good, because I was getting bored waiting for trouble." The first sign of the raiders' return came as a distant hum, growing louder with each passing second. From the horizon, dozens of black ships descended, engines glowing ominously. Riley and the women took their positions inside the outpost, the core's energy flowing through the walls and floors. Astra stepped to the center of the room, placing her hands on a console linked to the core. "Remember," she said, "the core can manipulate illusions, traps, and defensive systems. We must act together. Trust each other, and trust the core." Riley nodded, checking his plasma rifle. "Got it. Let's make this count." The raiders landed with a ground-shaking thud, spilling armored figures across the desert sand. They moved swiftly, weapons charged, their eyes fixed on the outpost. Riley felt a thrill of fear mixed with excitement. This was the kind of frontier challenge he had been searching for. Vega moved first, her energy aura flaring as she leapt forward. She picked up a fallen piece of machinery and swung it at the raiders, sending them tumbling back. Lyra activated holographic projections along the walls, creating illusions of defenders that confused and misdirected the attackers. Riley fired carefully, his shots precise, disabling weapons and forcing raiders to retreat behind cover. Astra's hands glowed as she channeled the core's energy through the outpost. Panels shifted, floors rose and fell, and hidden compartments opened to reveal blasters and energy barriers. The raiders found themselves trapped in narrow corridors and dead ends, unable to advance. Riley grinned, feeling the core's guidance shaping the battlefield. "Focus on their leaders," Astra commanded. "The rest will follow." Riley spotted the lead raider, a tall figure in black armor with glowing red eyes. He fired a precise shot, hitting the control panel on the raider's hoverbike, causing it to explode in a shower of sparks. The other raiders hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Vega charged, knocking down several raiders with a single swing, while Lyra manipulated the core's energy to create a glowing cage that trapped another group of attackers. Riley moved quickly, using his newfound understanding of the core's patterns to anticipate enemy movements. He leapt over obstacles, fired at weak points, and guided the mechanical traps to catch unsuspecting raiders. The raiders adapted, regrouping and attempting to flank the defenders. But the core anticipated their moves, shifting corridors and creating illusions that made the attackers collide with one another. Riley realized that the core was not just helping them fight, it was teaching him strategy, coordination, and timing. "Riley!" Astra shouted. "The leader is trying to escape with the core's data. Stop him." Riley's heart raced. The leader had activated a small hovering pod, attempting to lift a fragment of the core's energy. Without hesitation, Riley mounted Rust and surged forward. The mechanical horse's servos pushed him faster than he thought possible, carrying him over debris and obstacles. He fired a precise shot, hitting the pod's control panel. Sparks flew and the pod wobbled dangerously. The leader tried to regain control, but Vega leapt beside Riley, slamming her enormous hands onto the pod. With a single controlled push, she sent the pod crashing into the desert sand, rendering it useless. The remaining raiders hesitated, seeing their leader defeated. Riley grinned, adrenaline surging through him. "Looks like the lesson is over," he shouted. Astra and Lyra coordinated the final move. Energy barriers rose around the remaining raiders, forcing them to surrender. Holographic illusions made it appear as if the outpost was surrounded by an army, further convincing the attackers that defeat was inevitable. Riley lowered his rifle, breathing heavily. Well, that was intense. Vega flexed, her expression proud but calm. "We have defended the core. And you, Riley Kane, have proven yourself. You have learned to fight alongside us, to trust the core, and to think strategically." Riley smiled, feeling a mix of relief and triumph. "I think I finally understand. This house, the core, you three, were stronger together than anyone else out there." "Yes, and the frontier will continue to challenge us. But now we are ready." The desert wind blew gently through the outpost as Riley looked at the three towering women. Astra, Lyra, and Vega stood tall, their energy glowing softly in the morning light. Riley realized something he hadn't before. He had found a family, a purpose, and a place where he belonged. Astra turned to him. "The core is secure, but its purpose is greater than defense. It holds knowledge, technology, and guidance for the frontier. Together, we will ensure it is used wisely." Riley nodded. "And I'll help." "I never thought I'd say this, but this feels right. This is where I'm meant to be." Vega smiled faintly. "Courage, loyalty, and determination, that is what the core values. And you have all three." Riley chuckled softly. "I guess buying a $1 house wasn't such a bad deal after all." Lyra's eyes gleamed. "The value of this house is not in the cost, but in what it represents. A chance to protect, to learn, and to grow." Riley looked around the desert, the outpost standing firm against the retreating raiders. Dust Spire, the abandoned town, and the $1 house had become something far greater, a hub of protection, knowledge, and hope for the frontier. The core pulsed beneath their feet, a steady heartbeat that seemed to approve of Riley's courage. He felt a deep connection to it, as if it were alive and aware of his choices. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose, beyond wandering, beyond survival, beyond credits and bounties. "All right," Riley said, glancing at Rust and then at the towering women. "What's next?" Astra's voice was calm, steady, and full of quiet authority. "The frontier is wide, Riley Kane. Challenges will come, new threats will rise, and knowledge must be protected. But today, you have proven that courage and wisdom can guide us." Vega flexed her arms one last time, looking out over the plains. "And we will face them together. You are no longer alone." Riley nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. "Nope, definitely not alone." The four of them, Riley, Astra, Lyra, and Vega, stood together as the sun climbed higher, casting light across the desert plains. The raiders were gone, defeated, and the core pulsed steadily beneath the outpost, its energy filling the house with a quiet, protective hum. For Riley Kane, the $1 house was no longer just a cheap purchase. It was a beacon, a center of power and purpose, and the beginning of a new life in the frontier. A life filled with adventure, danger, and the companionship of three towering women who had become more than guardians. They were allies, mentors, and friends. He mounted Rust once more, looking toward the horizon. "Let's see what the frontier has for us next," he said, determination in his voice. The core pulsed brighter in response, almost as if agreeing. The outpost, the $1 house, and the desert plains were alive with possibility. The frontier stretched endlessly, and Riley Kane knew that as long as he stood with Astra, Lyra, and Vega, there was no challenge too great, no danger too strong, and no mystery too deep to face. And so, with the wind in his face, the hum of the core beneath his feet, and the towering women by his side, Riley Kane rode forward into the wide, unpredictable, and extraordinary frontier, ready for whatever came next. The $1 house had given him more than shelter. It had given him purpose, adventure, and a family of guardians he could trust with his life. And in the desert light, Riley Kane smiled, knowing that his wandering days had finally found a home.